Benchmade. What are we talking about today? .665. Little read. The first of its kind, the truly ambidextrous assisted push button brings versatility to a new level. .665 from Benchmade. Hold on. Blade length of 3.6 inches. Blade thickness of 1.24 inches. Overall length of 8.14 inches. Closed length of 4.81 inches. The weight on this particular model here is 5.46 ounces. The handle thickness is 0.59 inches, so it's a stout little blade. Not crazy, but you know, it's got some thickness to it. And the MSRP on this particular model here, the satin blade, satin stone washed blade without serrations is $210. The satin stone washed with serrations is also $210. The black coated model is $225. This is a new model from 2015. I've already got a first impressions video done out about this particular knife. It's taken me, I apologize first off, that it's taken me so long to actually get the review out on this particular knife, but the reason being is I haven't been able to come up with an opinion about this knife that was relevant, that I actually wanted to put on video. You know, anything that I can say about this that's not a negative is just general facts. This knife has absolutely nothing thrilling to it besides that mechanism. The ergonomics are decent, not great. The corners here do have a decent edge on them. It's not 90 degrees, it is rounded off, but it's decently sharp. However, the liners on the interior, that is a direct 90-degree angle, and the gap, because it does have a decently thick blade, which I do like, but it's got a big gap, which makes so when you get a really good purchase on this blade, it just doesn't feel very good in the hands. The shape is great. The overall shape, the length of the handle, I really like that. I like the thickness. Some people may have a problem with the relatively smooth textured G10. I don't have a problem with it just because I'm more into the ergonomics as far as where pressure lies on your actual hand, opposed to jimping and things like that for traction. It's just personal preference, but the mechanism on this is the new thing. All right, now there's some thought out there. I've heard a couple people say in the knife store. I've read online, some people are theorizing that this is going to be what they replace the axis mechanism with. Now, I stated in my the first impressions video, I don't think that's true, and I stand by that. This mechanism, although it doesn't, it works fantastically, okay? It doesn't have any actual problems that I can find. The dirt, the grit, the grime, whatever has gotten into it, pocket lint, it still functioned very well. You know what I mean? It's still, you can definitely feel the grit in there. You can probably hear it now. That's just from, that wasn't there originally. That's just from pocket lint. I imagine the oil has gone out. I should throw some lube in there, something like that, but it works well, but it's just too complicated. There's too many parts, there's too many springs, there's just way too much going on there to be a straight replacement for the axis lock, okay? With that said, I'm not saying that it's so complicated they're not going to continue making it. Now, with that, there was a comment on the video. Someone was saying they were looking at this knife, but they would prefer, with the price point, something in like an S30V blade, something a little bit higher end. And I completely concur with that statement. I agree. However, the reason that this blade is so expensive is this mechanism here. There's a lot of milling, there's a lot of parts that are engineered. You can see the movement on the interior there, if I can actually get it to focus. There's a lot of work that has to go into this specific locking mechanism, and with that, it's never going to be on a extremely cheap blade. Now, no Benchmades are cheap, but I think it's going to stay on a little bit more of their high-end carry line, for the most part. That's just general theory. The lock, however, is fantastic. This is the absolute best lock I've ever used on any knife. It's big. You can see how much it protrudes from the actual back of the spine there. I mean, it sticks out a lot, but it engages and disengages very easy. The jimping on it gives for a decent purchase. You know, it could be a little bit more aggressive. It is a little bit rounded, but it still does give a good purchase, enough to where you can engage and disengage this lock very easy. I really do like that, as well the way that it works. The actual, you can see it just goes in between the two buttons, prevents them from, you know, disengaging, which itself is a very strong mechanism. That seems to me like it's going to be able to take a decent amount of abuse without ever failing. But that's, again, are you gonna when are you going to be using a lock? You know what I mean? How are you actually going to be batoning through wood with this knife? It's all on what you're going to use it for. You know what I mean? Philosophy of use, to steal a term from Nothing Fancy. But I like the pocket clip, deep carry Benchmade pocket clip. It's pretty standard. The opening mechanism, I've gotten used to it. It felt a little bit strange to me when I first picked this knife up, when I first started using it, and I can definitely notice a difference, but I do like the assist, because it seems a little bit easier to kick out, and what I mean by that is, with a lot of assisted knives, the way that, this is all me, the way that I open them is I'll push the thumb stud just out until it gets to that certain point. I'll do it fast, obviously, you know what I mean, there's no delay like that, but with this one, it makes it a lot easier to, I don't need to push, I don't need to deliver pressure until it engages. It's much easier just to kick. A little bit of a flick, almost like you're utilizing a manual action, just with a lot less motion, you know, so it's just a little bit of a flick, opposed to this, because if I do that same motion, you can see here, it takes the blade out, but not quite enough to engage that spring. This spring has a decently early engagement. It's not extremely early. It's about right there. You can see that. So past that point, it kicks out. So it does have a decently early engagement, but it's just a lot easier to flick. In my opinion, obviously, 613 out of 1,000 first production run on this model. I was complaining on my first impressions as well with this purchase, you know, purchasing the knife, getting a good grip, over thumb grip. I still have a problem with that. You can see that my thumb and the palm of my index finger, base of my index finger, rest directly on those buttons. And I haven't had any issue with that. I've never had this knife feel like it's going to disengage. I don't know how many crazy motions I've actually done with this. I've done a decent amount of cutting, but it's all pretty, standard cutting. So I have a problem with that. You might not, a lot of people might not even care, but that kicks into my head as a negative. Size comparison, Griptilian. Just a little bit longer in a Griptilian. It's a lot fatter though. See how wide it is? It's about the same in thickness here, but in profile, but it's a lot wider. I definitely like the girth on the blade. I prefer a fatter blade in profile, and this definitely has it over something like a Griptilian. This is obviously a Tonto, but review to become. Kershaw Knockout, LMAX. Y'all have a good one.